So Allie Owens, if any of you were paying attention, was not originally listed as the first speaker, but she kicks ass and was willing to switch places so that LP's friends who were coming down from Winter Park could be here for her presentation. So, right? Yeah, so give it up for Allie. How many of you been to Ignite Denver before? More importantly, how many of you haven't? Shit, okay, so here's the thing. What I like to do instead of going, this is Allie Owens, I know very little about her, but here she is with a really compelling talk. I asked them very stupid questions, and I did that. And so here are some answers that Allie provided me. Sorry, I don't have the memorized wine root canal. Keep that in mind. The title of her as of yet unwritten memoir is, You Mean I Have to Put on Pants? Notes from an Introvert Just Trying to Make It in the World. Her favorite kind of cheese is all cheese is the best cheese. I asked whether or not a hot dog was a sandwich. She got very emotional about this. A hot dog is not a fucking sandwich. It gets its own category, which will always be inferior to that of the almighty sandwich. Sandwiches are awesome. Hot dogs are meh. I didn't realize I had such strong feelings about this. So that being said, Allie's going to tell us about playing nice with your inner critic. Please give a humongous round of applause for Allie.
Thank you. I'm Allie Owens, and I'm going to talk about that voice in your head, because we've all got it. You know that voice that tells you that you're not enough? It feasts on our insecurities, growing larger and louder, and sometimes even preventing us from doing the things we long for the most. It says things like, who else will ever love you when you try to leave a toxic relationship? Or you're not qualified enough for this at that interview for the new job. It says things like, who do you think you are to have these dreams? Or no one's going to take you seriously. Or hey lady, you probably smell funny. Sound familiar? Conventional wisdom tells us to kick this voice to the curb, take it out with the trash, tell it to get the hell out of Dodge, and that makes sense. I mean, if it's interfering with our ability to go out in the world and do the things we want to do, we should get rid of it, right? I used to operate from this paradigm. A few years ago, I was starting my own business, which requires making a lot of big and scary moves, and I was perpetually terrified. This left a lot of room for the inner critic to sneak in and tell me all the ways in which I was gonna fuck everything up. She was around so often that I gave her a name, DB, which was short for dumb bitch, as in, this dumb bitch in my head is trying to tell me I'm never gonna be friends with Oprah. So she would come in and start flapping her jaw, and I would fire back with insults of my own. It got really ugly. It's like, I don't know, I can get really colorful and creative with my cussing, so it was really intense, but the thing was, the harder I fought back against her, the louder her voice became. Why? Well, to understand this, we have to travel way back in time to the early days of the human race. We were hunters and gatherers, and back then, our fear responses were responsible for keeping us from dying. See, we were vulnerable as a species. There was danger everywhere. And that voice in our heads that warned us against doing certain things was trying to protect us from that danger to keep us alive. See, nowadays, we don't face the same kind of dangers that our ancestors once did. But our nervous systems have not caught up with our environment yet. They haven't evolved at the same pace. So this means that human beings are still biologically wired to prioritize fear as a method of survival. So what happens in the modern world when the things we're afraid of aren't actually threatening our safety? We're afraid of things like chasing our dreams and being vulnerable and putting ourselves out there, right? Our brain feels the fear and interprets it as danger. Now, this is not the kind of danger that's going to hunt us down and eat us in our sleep, but our fight or flight responses haven't gotten the memo. Our brain literally can't tell the difference. So when we feel fear, our natural instinct is to avoid the thing causing the fear. Enter the inner critic. DB, man, she comes like hollering onto the scene, brandishing her sword, ready to fight. And it took me years to understand that she was going to battle on my behalf to protect me from the perceived danger. And when I realized this, it was this huge aha moment. Because up until that point, I'd assumed she was acting like this just because she fucking hated me, She doesn't hate me. She's terrified. Terrified of taking risks, taking chances, taking up space in the world, all the things I was trying to do. And I was like, but she's so mean to me. And then I had to laugh at myself because I literally named her dumb bitch. So like, what else did I expect? I'd been just as mean to her as she'd been to me this whole time. It's natural to want the inner critic to go away, but I don't think that's ever gonna happen. Not really, because it's a part of us, you know? And if we're gonna love ourselves, we need to love our whole selves, not just the parts we're proud of. We have to embrace the shadow as much as we embrace the light and acknowledge our inherent duality as human beings. The inner critic, she lives in the shadow. And that's why no amount of shit talking is gonna help, because the way I speak to her is a reflection of how I treat myself. And when I realized that, I knew I had to start loving her instead. Now, make no mistake, DB is still very much a part of my life. This is not a cure-all. She's always coming around and voicing her opinions. And when I say voicing her opinions, I mean telling me I'm a piece of shit, because we all know how this works. But now, I don't have to take it at face value, because I know where it's coming from. It's not coming from a desire to see me crash and burn. It's coming from fear. And when someone cares about you enough to be that afraid for you, it's kind of flattering. So now when she starts voicing these concerns, I'm like, hey, thank you so much for caring. That's really sweet. Like, I love you, but here's the thing. I got this, so I'm gonna need you to step out of the way. More often than not, this calms her down considerably. She has a new name too, because I didn't want to be so mean anymore. So now she's Penelope. It's a lot harder to be an asshole to a Penelope, rather than a dumb bitch. Especially because I know, in her own little fucked up way, she's just trying to help me. I believe this is how we can all coexist with fear rather than just trying to barrel through and pretend like it's not there, because that's a battle we're not going to win. When we work with the shadow self instead of against it, we are all greater than the sum of our parts. Now go out there, do the big scary things, live your best life. Penelope and I thank you.
Yay for Allie, who didn't know she was going first until 5 minutes ago. Also, humble brag for her, she did all those drawings, right? I can't do that.